Good afternoon. You're watching Businessworld Live here on One News. I'm Jes Delos Santos. Let's take a look at how the local bourse closed today, Friday. All right, one of the more unusual weeks here for the index as it caps off the week on the upside. It's a 4-day winning streak for the local bourse, ending Friday up 0.1% to 6,674.51. It was in the red early in the morning, as you can see right here, even hitting a low of 6,597 or a 1% decline. But investors slowly picked up stocks for a more muted gain this Friday. Now that marks a 7.7% surge for the index this week. Its biggest weekly gain yet since October last year. Now investors picking up over increasing possibility that mobility restrictions in Metro Manila and nearby provinces will be loosened up just now. The DTI has put forward a recommendation to expand capacity in business establishments. So for dining, that's going to be a 30% capacity from 20% previously, as well as personal care services like salons. The proposal is to at least increase capacity, operating capacity at 40%, as well as an event, conference, venues, NCR mayors, according to Parañaque Mayor Edwin Olivares, said that mayors in Metro Manila also agreed to ease restrictions for businesses here in the NCR. Now, Ken Wong of East Spring Investments told Bloomberg TV that there's good opportunity for the Philippines since it has been underperforming quite a bit, and that there are now more opportunities, especially given that there are promising signs such as the arrival of more vaccines. Now, Claire Alviar of Philstock says for the upward trend to continue, vaccine rollout and infection containment should at least be maintained as well, especially here in the NCR plus bubble. But looking at our leaders and laggards here, three of the most picked up stocks here for today are Aboitiz Power, Pure Gold, and Mega Road. This considering that their exit from the MSCI Philippine Index has been completed. According to Alviar, these three stocks climbed on expectations that the selling pressure that had affected their shares and valuations is already over. Look at that, Aboitiz Power, a whopping gain for today with with a close to a 12% gain here, now at 23 pesos and 40 centavos a share. Pure Gold likewise here, also in the green, up 6.2% to 39 pesos and 25 centavos, and Mega World ending the day at 3 pesos and 13 centavos a share, up 5.75%. Now, heavyweights SM Investments and Ayala Corporation are the day's biggest drag here. Ayala Corporation is in the red, down by 2.6%. SM Investments, on the other hand, also declining by 2.4%. Now, joining the rally for the index is Metro Pacific. The stock, as you can see right here, ended the day in the positive territory, up over 1/4%, now at 3 pesos and 93 centavos a piece. Now, earlier in the day, they had their shareholders meeting, and the company did say that they are scaling down their capex for 2021 on the back of lower earnings in the first quarter of the year. Despite this, the group will still pursue expansion plans in tollways, and it also looks to partner with global vaccine makers. Shaila Francisco is joining us live for the full report. Shaila.
Just that's right. The Manny V. Pangilinan-led Metro Pacific has adjusted its capital spending for the year to focus on the essential growth projects, which they say are value accretive for the group. As such, it is looking at a capex of 14 billion pesos, down from the original 25 billion. This comes as first quarter core income declined 26% to 2.5 billion pesos. This was due to reduced toll road traffic, light rail ridership, and lower industrial demand for power and water as induced by the pandemic. Metro Pacific says the CREATE law, which lowered corporate income taxes, helped ease the company's tax liabilities and the reallocation of resources. The sale of Don Muang Tollways in Thailand and the transfer of global business power to Meralco MGen has also augmented the cash level of MPIC. As for expansion plans and the global market, this is what MPIC has to say.
We have opened two new roads in Indonesia and Vietnam. We plan to expand our footprint in Indonesia through Nusantara. which is looking to acquire more toll roads. With respect to the renewable energy, it was also reported earlier, we opened the first solar project in Bulacan, 50 megawatts.
With Maynilad, MPIC says the firm is required to be listed under the new concession agreement with the government. MPIC says this is just one of the 3 adjustments they have to make with the concession agreement pattern to the deal signed by Manila Water.
We have a concession loan from JICA, which has very favorable terms, and we have about 4 billion of that credit line that has not been drawn. And this will continue to enjoy the guarantee from the national government. And finally, we will have the ability to tailor the business plan that was agreed upon in 2018 to reflect the changes, because of the current economic condition.
Meanwhile, as far as COVID-19 vaccines are concerned, the company is looking to partner also with other producers for its local manufacturing. MVP Group of Companies Chairman Manny V. Pangilinan also says the company could also partner with international pharmaceutical firms for vaccines for other diseases.
We're open to other vaccine producers globally. We're seeing there are particular brands that are preferred by Filipinos in terms of the vaccines that they would like to have. And it's if you're at it anyway, you might as well manufacture vaccines that are applicable to influenza, to polio, to measles, chickenpox, smallpox. You might as well get into it, the full spectrum of vaccines that the Filipino people need, if you're going to build the facilities.
Just so far, the MVP Group has procured 800,000 COVID-19 vaccines for its employees, their co-dependents, and helpers. They also offer the vaccines to their traders and investors and allotted a portion of that for their CSR and sustainability programs. Jes?
All right, thank you very much for those updates, Shaila Francisco. Now, here are the other headlines we're keeping our eyes on. Senators are unlikely to support the measure seeking to amend economic provisions in the 1987 Charter. Philippine Star reports that Senate President Tito Soto thinks there's simply not enough time to tackle the measure before Congress adjourns next week. Albay Representative Edsa Lagman also believes the proposal is as good as dead, with weak backing at the upper chamber. Lagman says the next Congress could initiate their own economic chacha, but he insists lawmakers should go through the proper process of convening under a constituent assembly. The Interagency Task Force on COVID-19 trimmed the list of essential workers qualified for vaccination under the A4 priority group. Palace spokesman Harry Roque says the refined list of the A4 group includes private sector workers required to physically report to work, government employees, and informal sector workers required to work outside their homes or in private households. Overseas Filipino workers departing within the next 4 months after vaccination were also reclassified as A1 priority. Now, Roque says initial vaccine deployment for the A4 group in the NCR plus 8 areas have been approved. Now, speaking of vaccinating the A4 group, BPO workers have been included in the category. This, as the industry is seen to help further drive the country's economic recovery. To talk about their game plan for the inoculation, we have IBPAP President and CEO Ray Untal. Good afternoon, Ray.
Good afternoon, Jes, and thank you again for having me here today.
Okay, your action first on that a bit of development there from the palace. The priority, at least in the A4 group, will be those at least reporting physically to work. How does that affect the vaccination of your employees in the sector?
Well, these developments continue to be very welcome developments on our end. No? If you'd recall, just a few weeks ago, the IT BPO sector wasn't even included. And with this new directive, a simplified one, which is to practically open up vaccination for all private workers that are going to their offices, that's a welcome development for us. I
Mhm.
guess one angle that I just wanted to share here is that in the IT BPO world, we do have a very agile workforce. And while at any given time, currently we are leveraging off a hybrid model, these individuals that we have working from home are rotated, and they do get to go to the office depending on the situation and the demands of the engagement. So while the view is that it will be limited to to those who are physically reporting to work, most employees we have do go to work, but they rotate.
So more or less, at least, this should at least cover your employees in the sector, regardless of whether they are working from home, since in turn they would at least report on site in some future time. Now, moving forward from there, how exactly will you go about your vaccination drive? Has the sector procured shots, or will this be diverted to LGUs?
So there has been a combination of approaches so far. And in fact, many of those that are in the higher priorities, those with comorbidities, have already had their shots. No? But the strategy had always been to figure out a way for us to be able to gain access the soonest, to the vaccine, because that's really top of mind for the industry. And around that, I'm sure you have heard the fact that we have already procured more than 1 million doses, via multiple tripartite arrangements. And our intent is going to be, multiple approaches. No? Number one, via the national government LG routes that are opening up in June. I think we will be able to really get a good number of our population vaccinated early, and then as the procured vaccines do arrive, and we are seeing some of those arriving in June, and then a few more in Q3 and a lot more in Q4, we have partnered with several entities. Number one with Conicosio for the AstraZeneca arrangement, also with ICTSI Foundation for the Moderna vaccine, and several other vaccine in the horizon. We do have Zwillig as the logistics partner in this arrangement, and ICTSI is also putting up their own mega facility for the inoculation process. And other entities, other companies that we have also partnered with various health service providers to be the vaccine administration of choice. So those are a lot of arrangements that we're having today.
So, do you have numbers? How many of your employees have already been vaccinated? I mean, a number of them would, I believe, at least qualify for comorbidity. How many employees have already been vaccinated? And all in all, how much of the workforce should be inoculated?
Yeah. Unfortunately, that number is not readily available. No, I can make a very small guess based on some sampling.
Mhm.
It will be less than 5% at,
Mhm.
at this point. No, and again, against the backdrop of a 1.3 million population, there's still a lot to go.
But question now is, what's the level of acceptance here, or level of interest here from your workers to get
It,
vaccinated?
well, the good news is that it is improving. And thanks to a lot of campaigns with the help of our good friends from Task Force T3, and also another private entity who have lent their own geniuses, to provide us with materials that we can help cascade to our respective employees. And we have seen that improving. Now, exactly how that is really something that varies company but by company. But certainly, because of the massive information campaign that we have been doing, we're way better than the national average in terms of willingness to get vaccinated.
Mhm. Now, how about the COVID situation on the ground here, especially for those physically reporting to work? Have you at least seen a lesser outbreaks or infections in your physical offices?
I think given the number of employees that we do have, the occurrences are not a surprise. No?
Mhm.
But what has really happened very well is the fact that over the course of a year, we have really gotten better in terms of implementing the many health protocols, no? And we have really gotten better to that, to the point where we're able to manage it with minimal disruption in our ability to deliver.
Mhm. Now, over a year now into the pandemic, what's the situation like for BPOs? I mean, have you ever laid off employees, or what's the workforce like at the moment? Have more jobs been regained as well, or are you continuously acquiring more talents?
So the great news is that we ended 2020 on a positive note. We in fact grew again against the backdrop of the pandemic, and even with our own country GDP contracting. So that's great news. We've already reported that we've grown by as much as 1.8%. Not a lot, no, but again in the bigger context of how other industries fare, this is great. And so far, what we have seen is that Q1 has been a positive uptick again in terms of growth. And even with the ECQ and MECQ being raised in late March till April, we have really learned a lot over the course of the past year that we hardly missed a bit in terms of our ability to continue to deliver. No? And it fuels also more optimism on the part of our clients, and you'd be surprised. We're seeing good numbers in terms of growth trajectory.
So at least prospects for 2021 looking good. What's your projection growth-wise for the year?
Well, the official numbers is anywhere between 5 to 6.5%, but I want us to surprise ourselves down the road.
Mhm. Now, also, is the hybrid setup going? Do you see this extending, or are you seeing more of your workforce slowly returning more and more to on-site work?
Quite frankly, we see the hybrid setup as a model that has been effective. And even beyond the near term, post the vaccination exercise, we do anticipate that this hybrid model is going to continue. What will really vary is the pace by which work from home or work from office will vary in terms of percentages. And that's why right now we are working closely with our friends from various government agencies to allow us to be able to continue this hybrid setup, because there are also other things that we need to account for, especially with the mutation of the virus, and additional booster shots that we may need to do down the road.
Okay, this move, of course, is still you're still calibrating, of course, your next move when it comes to this, but still, like what you did mention, a bright outlook here for the BPO sector. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon, IBPAP President and CEO Ray Untal. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you again, Jess.
And those are the biggest stories this trading day, May 28, 2021. Catch Business World live again next week at 9:30 a.m. for the market open and 3:15 p.m. for the market close. I'm Jes Delos Santos. We are One News. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe. Philippines, have a great weekend.